panel of judges, timekeeper, co-debaters, and my esteemed audience. I am Tanya, and I am a representative of Shining Star College, and I stand before you today to oppose the motion which says that Nigeria should stop oil exploration and focus on renewable energy. Before going on, let me define these terms: oil exploration and renewable energy. Oil exploration is the process of searching for oil using underground and underwater means, using geological surveys and seismic techniques, while renewable energy are forms of energy gotten from natural sources and are constantly replenished by the earth, which includes solar energy, wind energy, biomass, and the likes. Well, oil has been a major backbone in Nigerian economy because according to reports from Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and the National Bureau of Statistics, over 88.6% of total export earnings come from oil and gas export earnings, and the petroleum industry contributes over 52% to the federal government's total revenue. With a country that has a debt pile of over 107 trillion naira debt and over 37% youth unemployment, can you really afford to discard its major economic pillar? Well, it's a no. But even with Nigeria's unsteady power generation, with other countries like South Africa generating over 48,000 megawatts of electricity, Nigeria still hovers around 4,200 megawatts of electricity. This is indeed poor for a country, and with even financial strains on maintaining renewable energy, such as the cost of setting up 1 megawatt of solar energy requires up to $850,000 to $1.4 million. Can Nigeria really have the capability to transition to renewable energy to power our homes, even when our present national grid cannot power our schools, our businesses, and our homes? Well, according to the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, over 400,000 jobs are provided to people directly, and 2.5 million jobs provided indirectly to individuals through services and logistics and catering. And if the oil exploration sector is dissolved, what will become of these individuals and their families? Can the renewable energy sector, which employs currently less than 5% of this number, be able to absorb this workforce? Well, the answer is no. Even developed countries like USA, they produce more than 12.5 million barrels of oil per day, and even countries like Germany, one of the balanced renewable economies, still consume more than 2.2 million barrels of oil per year. And even countries like Saudi Arabia earn more than $170 billion per year from the sale of crude oil. Why would Nigeria, a developing country with a weak economic foundation, try to make this disastrous step to discard its own precious resource? Well, in truth, oil and renewable energy can and must coexist. But this can be done by Nigeria investing its $33 billion oil revenue into renewable energy projects, such as investing in solar and hydropower investments. This can be done effectively and strategically without Nigeria jeopardizing its presence for an uncertain future. In conclusion, oil exploration should still be continuing even till this day, as the proceeds gotten from it can make a greener future for us all without making our present degradable and breaking down the system that sustains millions today. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, co-debaters, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Treasure Ozioma, and I'm a representative of Shining Star College, Kubwa, Abuja. I rise to speak against the motion that Nigeria should stop oil exploration and focus on renewable energy. While we agree that renewable energy is crucial for the future, it is neither practical nor wise for Nigeria to abandon oil exploration at this point in our national development. The opposing side may argue that oil exploration is environmentally harmful. While that is true to some extent, the real problem lies not in oil itself, but in weak enforcement and regulation. Instead of halting oil exploration, Nigeria should enforce environmental laws and invest in technologies that reduce oil's ecological footprint. You do not burn down your house simply because your roof is leaking, do you? No, you fix the leak. Secondly, they may claim that the world is moving away from fossil fuels. Yes, global energy trends are shifting, but the reality is, oil is and will remain a strategic and economic lifeline. Nigeria earns over 85% of its foreign exchange from oil. To stop oil exploration now would be like cutting off our oxygen supply whilst searching for an inhaler. We must transition, yes, but not at the expense of our economic survival. The proposal might point out that renewable energy is sustainable, But can sustainability alone work without reliability and infrastructure? Our current national grid barely powers homes consistently, let alone support large industries. Solar and wind are intermittent and require huge investments, which ironically can be funded by oil revenues. Let us use oil to fund the transition and not this.
Mr. Chairman, panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, my co-debaters, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Wadi Chena from Government Secondary School, Jiwa senior category, and I'm here to oppose on the motion that says Nigeria should stop oil exploration and focus on renewable energy. First of all, we need to understand the meaning of the word oil exploration. Now, oil exploration refers to the drilling of potential extraction sites. It refers to the surveying of areas to know where oil reserves are located and then harness them. Without any doubt, I tell you confidently that Nigeria shouldn't stop its focus on oil exploration and shouldn't even think of venturing into renewable energy due to the following reasons. First of all, the oil sector contributes substantially to the country's economy and its foreign exchange earnings. 90% of Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings comes from oil. By nominal GDP, Nigeria is the fourth richest country in Africa, while by GDP based on purchasing power parity, Nigeria is the second richest country in Africa. Little wonder Nigeria is called the giant of Africa. All thanks to oil exploration, whereas relying solely on renewable energies are just one of those fantasies that you and I know can never happen in my country, Nigeria. More to that, each of us seated here today, we came by different means of transportation networks. Some came by car, others by bike, some by tricycle. Now, these transportation networks, they make use of fuel, which is a byproduct of oil exploration. So you see that without oil exploration, none of us that we gathered here today. Even this so-called renewable energy we are talking about, it requires a massive fossil fuel investment because it requires what we call a distributive network, which means it has to be taken to areas where it can be efficiently utilized. So you also see that renewable energy even depends on oil exploration, whereas oil exploration does not depend on renewable energy. So then why should Nigeria focus on an energy that is dependent? If it does focus on this kind of energy, we are headed towards doom. We wouldn't want to discard the lucrative career option in the oil sector. It's actually noteworthy to know that an average petroleum engineer earns a whopping sum of 590,000 naira monthly, while an experienced petroleum engineer earns about $200,000 yearly, whereas the installation of solar panels is incomparable in terms of being lucrative to the oil sector. My opponents might like to say that oil exploration results in pollution. As a matter of fact, pollution is also generated by renewable energy. A resource known as biomass, when it burns gas, it emits carbon and methane, which affects the atmosphere and thus result in air pollution. This causes respiratory problems like asthma, it causes cardiovascular diseases, and it results in environmental degradation. So that point raised by my opponents now is rendered invalid. My opponents might also say that oil exploration results in oil spills, which affect the lands of farmers. As a matter of fact, in Nigeria currently, there is a scheme known as the Oil Scheme Compensation Regime. Now, farmers are being compensated for losses that they might have incurred due to oil spills on their land. In 2017 in Ogoni River State, a massive cleanup was done there and all oil spills were all cleaned up. Ogoni now is a city that is free from oil spill. How about calculated inverters? Now, calculated inverters are always installed at the back of exhaust pipes in cars. Now, when the car removes smoke, it is trapped. Now, carbon is trapped, while the other ones that goes out are not harmful to the environment and the atmosphere. So you see that ways are already provided for pollution to be stopped by oil exploration. So if Nigeria is to continue focusing on oil, explore oil, harness oil, and build more refineries, as I said earlier, we are the fourth richest country in Africa. If we are to continue doing this, we are headed to be the first richest country in Africa, if and only if we continue focusing on oil. Thank you.
All protocols duly observed. I am by name Peter Ochedesne from Government Secondary School Jiwa, the senior category. And I'm here to oppose on the notion that states that Nigeria should stop oil exploration and focus on renewable energy with these few points of mine. Firstly, we talk on cost of transitioning. Because as a country, Nigeria, right from the year in 1960, when we gained independence in this country, our one of our natural resources that we have, our major natural resources in this country, is the crude oil. And so if we suddenly migrate from the use of crude oil into renewable energy, then the Nigerian economy is going to collapse, because the cost of transitioning from crude oil into renewable energy, according to the Bloomberg Energy Finance, it reduced from 30 billion naira to 50 billion naira. Can you imagine the amount of money that is used in the transitioning? So if that money now is being invested into the installation of refineries, or even used to install these refineries and being used to upgrade them into refinery usage, then we can actually see that our country is going to make a lot of money rather than investing in an energy that we are not sure of its sustainability. That leads me to my second point, which is sustainability. We can actually see that the production of electric cars and other renewable energy sources, my opponents may want to argue that due to the presence of all these things, that it has taken over the position of crude oil, but that's not actually true, because we cannot basically migrate from crude oil to renewable energy like that. Because number one, in the presence of electric cars, take for an example, an electric car cannot travel up to 60 kilometers. It's not possible. But a fueled car can actually travel to 60 kilometers. That's actually a production, and due to the presence of crude oil. So if there's absence of crude oil, what becomes of all these things? And thirdly, disturbance of life, the disturbance of wildlife. In the hydroelectric power that I'm talking about, it disturbs aquatic life. It poses a threat to fishes. So if all these things becomes extinct, what are we going to use as meat? I don't understand. What are we going to keep for the next generation that is coming before us in this?